Maximize your potential and focus on your performance. Look into your future and power up your purpose. Power people, let's change our mindset, people. Let's empower people to see all their potential. When they power up and make you official. Maximize your performance and focus on your potential. Look into your future and power up your purpose.
Welcome to the Power Up Show. Maximize your potential. This is the place where transformation meets innovation, and you have one goal. And what's that, Cheryl?
That is to power up. So we are so excited to be here today on EM-Spire Magazine, DreamSpire TV, and we have an exciting guest that, Eric, you're going to share all about that.
Yeah, we've got a great guest. His name is Andrew Roby. He's an event planner. He's a wedding planner. He does all things, and this is a busy time of year for him. So it's going to be exciting for a bunch of us that are tuning in to really know what the event industry is going through and what we can learn from it.
So don't go anywhere, because after this break, we're going to meet Andrew.
Maximize your potential and focus on your performance. Look into your future and power up your purpose. Power people, let's change our mindset, people.
Show where you maximize your potential. Eric, I am so excited about this guest that we have now. So I think it's time for us to meet him. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited to welcome aboard Andrew Roby. He is an event planner. He is a wedding planner. People call him an event storyteller, if you will, because he is passionate about romantic weddings and engaging events. He's from Miami, Florida. But right now he lives in D.C., and that's where he works. And he's traveled to about 25 countries. He's done all types of work within his 13-year career. He's done work with the International Spy Museum, Axiom Resource Management, Simon Malls, The Knot, the CW, the Art Institute, Northern Virginia Magazine, the City of Alexandria. Whew, I'm running out of breath right here. So many people he worked with. But he's also been seen in Forbes magazine, CNN, Fox, Washingtonian magazine, Modern Luxury, Wedding Chicks, Logo TV, Wedding Wire, and many other leading publications. So it is going to be a great day, a great interview. I am so excited to welcome aboard Mr. Andrew Roby.
My goodness. Thank you so much. That was great. Thanks for appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Now you get to add to your list that you've been on the Power Up Show, Maximize Your Potential with Cheryl and Eric.
Absolutely. Booyah. That's
good. Andrew, thanks so much for coming on as our guest. We're really excited to have you, and it couldn't be more timely. You know, you're an event planner, you're a wedding planner, and we know that the event industry has gone through a lot of changes over the past few months. Wouldn't you say?
I think that the last 3 months has really been one of the most challenging experiences of my career as it relates to trying to keep my business afloat, trying to sustain my business, trying to get cash flow in, and still trying to keep the lights on. These 3 months have truly been challenging, but also a learning opportunity for me and so many other event professionals just to figure out how to be even more creative. And I hate saying pivot, but that really is a great word to use to try to describe what's been going on.
Yeah,
in 2021, the word pivot is going to be retired. Bandwidth. We're going to retire those two words, pivot and bandwidth. They're no longer going to be able to be used.
Exactly. So you know what? Right now, I'll ask the question beginning with the word adjust instead of pivot. So, so with COVID hitting, I know you've had some challenges, but what do you think has been the biggest, most significant adjustment you have had to make as an event professional?
Whew. I think the biggest adjustment is honestly, so my world is filled with entertainment and being able to be in spaces to entertain people all the time. People want to have an opportunity to indulge themselves with other people, music, food, everything. And not being able to do that, being stuck at home and just literally looking at these four walls every day, honestly has been one of the biggest adjustments. And it's like when you are a person that's always on the go and then you're instantly stopped, from doing what you're doing, it really is like shell shock. Like, what is going on? What's happening? When is this going to go back to normal? What am I doing? And it really is a reality check to try to make you figure out, is this what you still want to do? Is it something that you're going to change? What? But that has honestly been my biggest adjustment.
I think what's also so interesting is not only have you had to adjust, but the companies that have had to adjust from going from that face-to-face conference where there's 1,000 individuals in the room to now going to virtual. Yep. And so what are some of the circumstances or some of the obstacles that you've encountered with them when they're trying to make that transition?
So the transition from in-person to virtual has really been significant because I think all of us are so programmed to the dynamics of an in-person event. We're accustomed to going to a football game. We're accustomed to going to a concert and hearing the noise and getting the energy from everybody that's around us. That doesn't translate always into a virtual event. It's like, okay, I'm trying to have this experience at home and I'm trying to have the same amount of energy, but I'm honestly the only one that's in this space trying to keep myself excited. The other part of that is the technical aspect of it. A lot of our clients and even, our speakers and panelists are not familiar with the dynamics of doing events in the virtual world. So we now have to, challenge them to perform in a different aspect, but also understand the technical side of it, where to look at, checking your microphones, checking your Wi-Fi and doing presentations online when a lot of them are just accustomed to sending in their slides, getting a clicker and just click as they do, their in-person presentations. So it really is a huge difference between the in-person and then the virtual, but still trying to educate all of the people that are involved. It honestly is even more people involved on the tech side of it, just to make the virtual events happen. So it's a learning opportunity for all of us. We're still adding more experience. We're seeing more changes every single day for the virtual aspect of it, but I love it. I wouldn't change it.
Wow, that is awesome. And that's some really good insight, especially, how things are done behind the scenes. Many people, especially people like me and maybe even Cheryl and other speakers out there, we're not always in tune with what goes on behind the scenes. One of the things I'm curious about from you, you've been in this industry for about 13 years. What made you want to go into event planning and go into this industry?
So very good question. It really is something that I fell into. So I am a Army veteran. And so I've spent 9 years serving in the military. And towards the end of my career is when I started actually to get into the event planning atmosphere. And what happened is that we were deployed, like my longest deployment was 15 months. And that was like crazy. But part of that was trying to build up morale opportunities for soldiers that are deployed, but also for their family members that are back home, trying to, keep that bridge, that communication going. So I volunteered to actually be on the Morale, Welfare, Recreation program that offer an opportunity for single soldiers and other service members to actually have fun activities to do. So I volunteer for the Coca-Cola 3-on-3 Classic basketball tournaments, for fundraisers and everything else that was going on. And I found that to be really fascinating. And so as I exited, being in the Army, I was like, what am I going to do? And I was like, let me try this. Let me try this and see if this is something that I wanted. And I haven't looked back. I am just going full throttle, planning different types of events, and it's just fun. The energy from it has really been what has kept me going for all these years.
Wow, that's awesome. That is awesome.
What's so interesting too is, so I spent a lot of time in the nonprofit realm as the director of development, and so fundraising and event planning has been something that was just a part of what I did. And it's so interesting because you have all of this adrenaline flowing, right? It's like all of this adrenaline up to the day of the event, and then the day after the event, you're just like, oh.
It happens. I literally take probably a 2-day just break from major events just to get my energy back, because while I may not be the one that's exerting so much like physical, it's the mental that really gets depleted, as I'm just putting out instructions and engaging with so many people. So I get it. Yeah.
Wow. Well, this is great so far. Look, why don't we just take a quick break, and then we're going to come back.
Welcome back to Power Up, Maximize Your Potential.
In your bio, you call yourself a storyteller, which I love that. And so kind of talk to us about, what is that? What is a storyteller?
Yeah, I love that phrase because, one, it causes people to actually ask what it is that I do as a storyteller. And this really leads into what you were previously saying in regards to the nonprofit aspect of it. But when I do my corporate events and when I do my nonprofit events, a lot of times the question of why am I doing this event? Why do I need this fundraiser? Or why am I doing this benefit comes to mind. And so understanding the stories behind, especially the nonprofit aspects, helps us to actually curate an event that's going to speak to the attendees. If I am doing an event for nonprofit, I have to understand what that nonprofit's end game is, what the goal is for us to be able to raise however much money in order to get them through the next goal, the next phase, and being able to tell that story and get as much information for every touch point that we have is really important, because by you telling a story of an organization, what happens is that, especially for the giving aspect, the fundraising aspect, is that you get more money in return. And of course, nonprofits and other organizations want to get a high yield from the attendees. And that emotional attachment is what we pull out of our clients, so that way we can get that information and tell it, whether it's through video, whether it's through set design, whether it's through reading material and content online, or even through social media. We really want to take them on a journey from start to finish, so that they understand and even feel as if they're part of that organization, and they want to really be that promoter and help them as much as possible. And I don't think any organization can really do that without telling their story.
Yeah, that is definitely key. You got to share your story. I mean, as a speaker myself, that's what I'm all about. Sharing my story and trying to make that resonate with groups. When people interact with you, when they seek your services, what are some of the misconceptions that you find about event planning in the industry? What are some of the things that you have to dispel for them?
Yeah, very, very good question. It really is a good question because one, people don't see us necessarily as the creative side, although we're planning and building events and we're creating that entertainment. A lot of people they see us just as a logistical person, the coordinator, the person that's like, okay, you set up here, you do this, you do that, and that's it. But we really are more like a creative agency where we're creating concepts and building ideas together and putting those into an event format. So that's one thing that people really need to understand. But also what I love to do is to be able to create content, and I love to be able to shape the communication that goes from a company, their event, to their audience, and being able to help marketing firms and publicists really pull together the talking points that they need to make sure that they get across has been really, really cool to do. But there's also a lot of things that people think that we do that we actually don't do. and I really want to be clear about that. So I find myself wearing the hat of like the psychiatrist and just trying to, manage the divide, because oftentimes, whether it's with a couple or even with a corporation that's planning an event, we normally have committees that are involved and everybody has their own thought process and want something to happen. So we're like the judge and jury and trying to be the peacemaker for that. But we're mathematicians. We do budgets and calculate what works and what can't work, and security and protocol. So there's a lot of things that we do, but there's also a lot of things that we try not to do. But, as planners, we're going to try to help out as much as possible.
That's so funny, because when you think about planning, and for you deal in so many different genres. So it's not just wedding planning, you do corporate, which is like, it's like apples and oranges. Right.
And that's another thing, is that wedding planners are not the same as event planners. They don't do the same thing. And I think a lot of people feel, well, if you're a wedding planner, then you can still do the planning for a corporate event. And the dynamics is totally different. Corporate events, you're dealing with much bigger budgets, more vendors, more protocol, especially for the government aspect of it. But for a wedding, you're only dealing with a very small amount of vendors and a small amount of guests when you're dealing with that. So it's very closed circuit, versus the corporate and government side is very, it's a world of its own. So they are not able to do the same thing. Some people, we do it because we've done both, but you can't believe that one planner can do weddings and events, or that a planner can do all types of events or weddings, because that's not the case either.
And it's so funny, because I've often heard people, like, when you're, we would put in a application saying that we're looking for an event planner, and we would get people that said, well, I planned our family reunion. I planned, our church, picnic or festival. And so, yes, I can plan an event, and you're absolutely right. There's a huge mammoth of a difference.
Yep. Absolutely.
And so, do you also deal with small businesses? Are you primarily large businesses? Which one are you in the realm of?
So during COVID, we're in the realm of everybody at this point. But ideally, we it just depends on the project. There's been plenty of projects that we've turned down for large corporations as well as small. It just really, we're about doing things that are going to connect with us and align with our values. So we don't take on every client. We don't take on every project. So it really just does depend. I don't think at this point we are going to dispel someone from us doing work with them. It just has to align with something that we're comfortable with doing.
Yeah, I can definitely see that, especially right now. You have to be able to be a little bit more flexible, but make sure it's aligned with what you're, going through.
Yeah.
So what do you think now that, we're 7 months in, to this pandemic, about 7 months, I think. What do you see the future of event planning looking like moving forward in 2021?
Whew. Okay, so that's a really good question. What I think is the world has to be patient. I think we are seeing so many opportunities to actually do events, whether it's hybrid, which is the in-person combined with the virtual, or if it's just either or the in-person or the virtual side. But I think that we need to be patient for at least the in-person side, because so many people are just over being at home. So many people want to go out and do something, to meet with other people, to interact. But we have to be patient on that aspect of it and find alternatives still within the virtual aspect to be able to curate really great, engaging events. But for me, I don't think that we will see a leveling of the event industry probably until the fall of 2021. And that really is, I think what we're at now is probably phase 2 of the event cycle out of 4 different phases. And we're really entering into the hybrid aspect of it, where we have events and the in-person and virtual events that are taking place at the same time. And so really just getting our bearings for hybrid events is where we're starting to get into. And a lot of people are not doing hybrid events because they're fearful of contacting COVID and then having to go through contract tracing and all of these other things that really is a pain in the butt, honestly. And so just going through that process, I think that we'll start to level out in the fall of 2021, but we'll still see virtual right now. We'll still see hybrid. And I think we need to keep virtual going because it's not going to go away anytime soon.
I think you are head on there. I think people are still in the mindset of, that unfamiliarity of not knowing, if everybody is using the guidelines or the protocols. And I'm sure that's changed for your industry also, as far as, what are the new guidelines for the week? Because it's so fluid that it's continuously changing. And so how do you have like a designated team? Do you have a team that actually is aware of this? Are you working closely with the facilities to make sure that those guidelines are in place in case individuals are like, I would love to have you, but I'm not sure about the guidelines?
Right. Yeah, we definitely are keeping a close watch on the ever-changing rules per state, because unfortunately there isn't a federal directed plan of execution for events. Every state is authorized to create their own plan. So we have established the Live Event Coalition, which is an organization that really keeps us abreast on everything that's happening as it relates to COVID and events. And there's plenty of state chapters that are also working with each of us so that way we could get as much information from them. So that really is the best way for us.
Wow, that's extremely interesting. I mean, there's so many different rules. I don't know how you're able to keep up with all the different rules and regulations and keeping your clients at ease. For people who are interested in your industry, what advice do you have for someone who wants to pursue doing what you're doing right now?
I would say, I really would say understanding what you want to do in the event industry, because the event industry is so vast and has so many opportunities for anyone to do just about anything. And don't put yourself into a place where you're trying to follow what everybody else is doing. Right now, what everyone wants to see is that individuality and to see, you really develop your personal branding. So that is what I would definitely charge anyone to do, is to hone in on what you really want to do, understand it, practice it, and go after just, fine tuning that.
Gotcha.
That's awesome. Andrew, thank you so much for being here with us today. And you are not out of the seat yet, because we have this thing that we do, and it's called Power Up, our Power Up cards here. And so what I'm going to ask you to do, and this is really cool how you're going to do this because you're going to pick a card.
Okay.
Pick a card, and you pick a card, and I know exactly which card you're going to pick. So you just pick one.
I'm gonna pick the card that's your second finger.
Okay, that one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that one. That one.
This one says, "What do you dream of achieving one day?"
Wow. Really good question. I dream of achieving a event industry that is inclusive of Black and brown people, that allows Black and brown people in order to succeed with parity, with equity, with inclusion, equality, so that way they can continue doing what they love. What we face right now in our industry is a lot of opportunities that go by that are given to our white counterparts versus giving to all of us. So I really would want to see an industry that is really inclusive for all of us to be able to continue doing what we love and not have to get out of this industry and do something else because we just aren't finding our footing within the event industry. So that's something that I, strive to see accomplished.
Awesome.
He nailed that one. He nailed that one. That was.
Here, pick another one. No. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Andrew, you can be reached on Facebook. So if anyone's interested in connecting with you, you're on Facebook at Andrew Roby Events. You're also on Instagram at Andrew Roby Events. And then you have a website, Andrew Roby Events. So if you forgot one of the ways to connect with him, just put in Andrew Roby Events.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go. Thank you so much for joining us here on Power Up. Now, before you leave, we always ask if there is a Power Up message that you would like to give for the viewers. So what would be your message for people to literally power up and just maximize their potential?
I would say that no matter what happens in your life, that you are enough, you have the tools in place already to succeed. Every step that you take, every dream that you have, every mission that you create, ensure that it is working towards your greatness. Your greatness is what everyone wants to see out of you. It is the ultimate potential capability that you have in order to make your legacy be itself. So no matter what anyone says, always strive to reach your greatness.
And power up, because that's the message right there.
Maximize your potential.
Thank you so much, Andrew. It has been a pleasure. I know our viewers are going to get so much out of this, especially in this time of virtual events. And what does all of that even mean? And how can they get in touch with someone that understands it and wants to tell their story?
Thanks for coming on board, man. It was a pleasure meeting you, and you shared some really powerful words, man. And hopefully you can come back again soon.
Yes, absolutely.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I learned a lot about the event industry. I mean, just the struggles, the challenges, and how you're able to adapt. I mean, there's a lot going on and a lot to look forward to, it seems like.
Absolutely. And I guess it's time for us to go. Eric, where does the time go?
It went by fast. It always does.
Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us here on Power Up, Maximize Your Potential, where you have one goal, and that is
to power up.
You got it. Hey, stay connected with us. You can reach us at powerupshowtv@gmail.com. Definitely go to EM-Spire Magazine on Facebook. And then also go to our YouTube channel at DreamSpire TV so you can see all of the videos, all of the guests that we have had. So have an amazing day. Hey, Day, you have an amazing day too.
You too, Cheryl.